All right, welcome everyone. We're going to give folks a few moments to join and then we'll get started with a quick introduction here. All right, cool. We've got some folks hopping in. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today for our webinar presented by Tyler Wilson with JointFlash. Before we get started with today's presentation, I'm going to give a quick little introduction, give you guys some information for ways you can get some more support and information after this webinar. All right, I'll share my screen here. So anyone who signed up for today's webinar, you have a free Acelab account. I'll drop my colleague's meeting link in the chat if you're interested in signing up for a free demo to learn some more about the resources that we provide here. But if you know exactly who you're looking for, you can always come to Acelab and use the search bar at the top. Type in the name of any product, any manufacturer. That'll cross-search between product categories, brands, and resources. You can use that to head over to their page on Acelab. So if you've got some follow-up questions after today's webinar, this is a great place to come. I'll send a link directly to this in the chat as well so that you can access it easily. But scrolling down here,
Oops. You happen to be on JointFlash, so this one's for JointFlash.
Oh, oops, sorry about that.
I know.
Here we go.
Easily mixed up.
Easily mixed up. All right, same process there. Typing JointFlash. Thank you, Tyler. Scroll down here. Here you've got a contact, reach out to Tyler directly. So you can press this button, ask some follow-up questions. Scroll down here, you can view some more about the JointFlash product, save this to your firm library, to your project. So this is a great place to come, get some inspiration photos, get some more information about the company, and use this button to reach out to Tyler directly to ask some questions or connect about a project. We'll also give you the opportunity to let us know if you want to connect with the team at JointFlash after today's webinar. You can go over to your profile options up here. And if you say, yes, you want to be connected during today's webinar, we'll make a conversation for you with Tyler. So you can head over to this icon over here. That's your easy way to get to all of your conversations on Acelab. You're also going to get an email notification about conversation. So you don't necessarily need to open this platform. You can respond directly to those emails. That'll log in the system as well. But this is a really great place to come and keep all of your product information organized along with your communication. Last thing I'll show before we jump off today here, jumping over to one of our newer features, the schedules feature. So this is basically a really comprehensive system to save and store your product information along with your rep information. You can pull in Acelab data, you can add your own custom data, you can store notes and comments from your team. So it's super collaborative, helps you to stay in touch with your reps, stay in touch with your team, and really manage all of your product selections. So if you're interested in gaining access to this or learning some more, stay tuned for the chat. I'll drop some links over there to the JointFlash page, to my colleague's meeting link for a free demo. And if there's anything else you need, feel free to use the Q&A. We do want to encourage folks to ask questions throughout today's event. We're definitely going to have some time to talk through those live. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A box. You can also raise your hand and we'll unmute you. You don't have to turn your camera on, so I promise it's not super scary, but if you've got a long-winded question or something really specific you want to talk about, feel free to use that raise hand option, and I'll keep my eyes peeled for anyone who might want to talk out loud. All right, without further ado, I would love to pass it over to Tyler to get started with today's presentation.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to share a little bit about our company and our products to you guys. So I'm gonna jump right in. I'll share my screen here and get into our webinar here. So my company is Evergreen Wholesale, and we have two different siding accessory lines, so JointFlash and AmeriBlock. They are both siding accessory products, but they are not necessarily related to one another. So the first one we're going to talk about is JointFlash. And yeah, sorry about that. So the first one we're talking about is JointFlash. So JointFlash is a plastic junction flashing. So it's made of carbon black, high density polyethylene. So it's a fancy form of plastic. And it is really applicable to use behind any lap siding. We find that the majority of our customers who are using our product are generally using it behind party lap siding, but it absolutely can be used behind different wood siding. So certain variations of LP lap siding, certain ones it works for, certain ones it doesn't. Or any like cedar siding can be used behind, but definitely any fiber cement siding. So Allura, Nichiha, Hardy, any of those main fiber cement brands, perfect fit for our product. So really what it is, it's essentially a plastic, piece that goes behind that butt joint. So where two pieces of lap come together, the question is, what is done at that joint? So JointFlash provides a real solution to a real problem. The problem is, that joint with party lap siding or any fiber cement lap siding or any wood lap siding, like I mentioned, there's usually not any sort of interlocking design, so those ends just butt up against each other. So there's a couple different options to treat those, and we can get into those here. But JointFlash absolutely solves a real problem with treating that joint. So in addition to that, from the installer perspective and builder perspective, there's a lot of advantages that JointFlash has. From an installer perspective, it's super safe, efficient, and easy to use. When I say safe, people are sometimes like, "What do you mean it's safe?" Compared to cutting up a roll of coil stock or using a metal flashing, that is more prone to cutting up your hands when you're reaching to grab it out of your nail bags. This is a plastic product, so it's not going to do that. From an architect's perspective, maybe that is not a top priority per se, but it's always nice to know that a product that you're speccing out or you're recommending is easy to use for the installers, and you're not, telling them to use something that is cumbersome per se. On top of that, it is, like I said, easy installation. So instead of having to get a product like a coil stock that you're needing to cut up into individual pieces, and JointFlash comes pre-cut in whatever size needed for your particular project to meet the manufacturer's specs. So it's ready to use as soon as you get it. There's no cutting or fabrication on the job. Another advantage for any saltwater or marine environments, it is corrosion resistant. We're based over here in Southwest Washington. A lot of our initial customers were on the Oregon coast, where we provided a real solution to, again, a real problem. Obviously, a lot of wind-driven rain over there, so they need a very good solution for those butt joints. Before using JointFlash, they were using metal products, and a lot of times the salt in the ocean water would make those metal products corrode. There would be rust dripping, breakdown, and that doesn't happen with the plastic. So it does hold up better than harsh environments, whether that's salt water or wind-driven rain. So one of the areas that's maybe most relevant in your guys' perspective is the manufacturer recommendations, right? So there is a wide variety of ways that people can treat these butt joints for lap siding. There is no true industry standard across the nation here. So where we are locally in the Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington market, this is kind of developed into an industry standard. If any of you guys have firms that are located here, a lot of your projects may already even be using this because it's probably used on over 90% of both commercial, multifamily, and single family jobs in the whole Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington. Each manufacturer has maybe a slightly different recommendation for what they do, but they're all similar. So you can see here on the left, I've got Hardy's guidelines. They've got a few different options, either a joint flashing, which could be our product, or it could be other options such as a cutting up a Tyvek scrap or party wrap scrap or a felt paper or something like that, or caulk it, or those are all viable options. If you look down further, it does say that they do not recommend applying caulk, and then they also do not. They recommend ace joiners as an option, but it's not their primary option. The reason they have joint flashing first is because it is their primary recommendation is that they would like some sort of butt joint flashing back behind it. The advantage to using joint flash compared to another alternative, such as cutting up tar paper or fabricating that product out of metal, is knowing that the width and the height are going to meet the manufacturer recommendations. If you have an installer who's cutting this up on the job and it's supposed to be 6 inches wide, they accidentally cut it out 5.5 inches wide, all of a sudden that can void the manufacturer warranty. So it's a potential spot in the installation. Of course, there's others as well, but it's definitely a potential spot in the installation where if something is not done exactly right, it opens up a warranty issue because of installation error. By using joint flash, you're getting a product that is pre-cut. It essentially dummy proofs the installation process for the installer. So it's one less thing they have to think about. Instead of worrying that their usually lowest skilled and lowest paid laborers are cutting up the right size of flashing to use, they can know that they're grabbing something that's already been in front of Hardy, been in front of their guys, and know that Hardy themselves is happy with this product and it's coming out as a pre-cut product at the size recommended and specified by Hardy. Another manufacturer little graphic here is this is for LP. So again, you can see it's an option here to use a joint flashing product, whether that's ours or another, cutting up a tar paper or foil stock, something like that. Same advantages. They've got a different size spec than Hardy, but it's really the same thing that it's mentioned, knowing that the product that's being used is the right size for that manufacturer. So whether it's LP or it's Allura or it's Hardy, they may all have slightly different variations. But we've got different products that match the different sizes and recommendations for each siding manufacturer. So here's a basic installation graphic, just so we can all be on the same page and see exactly what we're talking about, right? Hardy lap siding there, we've got an open run on step 1. So you just install the first pieces of lap siding without nailing the end near the butt joint. The butt joint being where 2 pieces of the same run are coming together and those 2 pieces are meeting with that vertical butt joint. Step 2, after working the steps up the wall, just tuck the piece of joint flash behind the loose end that wasn't nailed. Make sure joint flash is centered on the joint and overlapping the course below by at least 1 inch, as manufacturers recommend. And then step 3, put the final piece onto each step and nail the last piece at the butt joint. No additional nails needed during the process, no adhesive, no cumbersome peel and sticks. It's a very easy and efficient installation process. One question I get all the time is, how is that going to stay in there if there's no adhesive on it? And the benefit to it being plastic, there's some flexibility to it. So it stays in very well just with the friction being held in there during the installation process. If both those nails are not put in there, in that third picture, you can see there's a nail on each one of those pieces of siding. If both those nails are not put in there, that's an installation error, and that piece can slide out. But if those nails are put in there, which they're going to be anyways, because that's per per the installation of the siding, that those nails are going in there, and they will hold that piece of joint flash in there long term. So super easy and efficient installation that makes the job easier for the installers. So that's That's JointFlash. The next product that we have is a mirror block. It's a full lineup of mounting blocks for really any wall penetration for fiber cement or wood lap siding again. So we're not really targeting vinyl jobs here. It's really in the fiber cement and wood markets. So you can see we've got light blocks, hose bib blocks, dryer vent blocks, receptacle blocks, generic mounting blocks. So really any penetration coming out of a wall that has a wood or fiber cement lap siding should have a block behind it. Now, this isn't necessarily a manufacturer requirement or recommendation, but it is a best practice. So just from a quality control and best practice method, it is good to put these blocks behind any penetration instead of going directly through the siding. It is easier to waterproof and make sure that there's no potential leak points in the future. The benefits here, like I said, better building practices. A lot of parts of the country installers will use some sort of blocking. However, they may not be using it. So there's going to be some fabrication going on the job site. And that is not very efficient. So instead of installers hanging up siding, they are fabricating these blocks out of a lower quality wood, having to get their routers, or maybe they're not even routed. And so you get blocks that are definitely not as visually appealing. Maybe they're using like a green wood that's unprimed. So there's some water issues there in the future. They can be inconsistent sizing. So by using a mirror block, again, it encourages better building practices, higher quality control, better aesthetics, and more efficient installation process for the actual installers out on the job. A couple case studies here. These three are all related to JointFlash. The first one, more of a aesthetic case study. This was for Lenore Homes in the state of Colorado. So they were, before they started using JointFlash a few years ago, they were caulking the joints and using some sort of joint cover from, I don't know exactly what it was, but they were having definite aesthetic issues and some waterproofing issues where that caulk was cracking. And they were looking for a solution that could solve both of those issues. So by using JointFlash, you don't have to put any sort of joint cover over, and there's no need to caulk those joints. So it ended up with both a better aesthetic, a better waterproof joint, and then actually was also to save them a little bit of money on each house. And when you're a volume builder like a Lennar and you're doing a couple thousand houses in the state of Colorado, $10 or $20 in a house, it adds up. So it was a win-win-win for them across the board at the time when they were using herbicide. Another case study, we had a GC in Texas reach out to us. He was doing a large hardy job for a apartment complex, and his installers didn't really know the installation guidelines and best practices that Hardy laid out. I think they hadn't really read the instructions there. So he had hired this installer to put all the Hardy lap siding in this complex, and they were partway done with it, and then it got called out by, I believe it was the owner of the project, that hey, there's no joint flashing back behind these. And at that point, he was then looking for a solution. Once he realized that there was a problem, he was looking for a solution, and he came across our product. And unfortunately for him, he had to tear off about $50,000 for the siding. Luckily, he caught it when he did, but then we were able to provide a solution for him going forward that he was able to make sure those were waterproof, that it met all the recommendations by Hardy, and then he had a happy owner of the project. So there, that happens in really a lot of the parts of the country. If something's not spec'd out, we're seeing that there's a lot of um, like lack of installer knowledge, even though all of these siding manufacturers do a really good job of having their installation guidelines. If you take the time to read them, they are fairly straightforward. Unfortunately, a lot of installers don't take the time to read through these guidelines, so this can be a very easy thing that is missed in that process. By having it spec'd out, it solves that issue, and then pretty much guarantees that that joint is going to be treated correctly. Another case study that we have here is inconsistent installation for a very large installer in North Carolina. So they were, like I mentioned earlier, they were having someone fabricate stuff on the job. So they were having people cut up coil stock and finding out afterwards that a lot of the times those pieces were not being cut at the consistent 6 inches that were recommended by the manufacturer. So even though they were supposed to be being cut at that width, you had pieces being cut at 4 inches and 7 inches and 5 inches. And if it's over 6 inches, that's fine, although it is, it's wasteful then. But really for any of those pieces that are less than 6 inches, it was really voiding the warranty because of improper installation. So by switching over to our product, and they've been using it for and they've really solved that problem that they have, solved that issue by using a product that they know meets all of the best practices and recommendations from Hardy. And whether they were using Hardy or it could have been Allura or Nichiha or really even a cedar siding that doesn't have a specific manufacturer guideline, by using JointFlash, anyone using any of those types of siding is going to know that they're doing it the right way, by using a pre-cut product that's coming in the appropriate size. So that is what I have for our webinar here. To contact us, like Bo said, through the Acelab platform, or here is some direct contact info. There's our email address, a direct number for me, and our websites are jointflash.com and ameriblock.com, which is in the process of as we speak. So that is what I have for you guys, and hopefully you guys have some questions that I can answer for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. Yep, we'll start off with a few of the questions we have here, and reminder to anyone, if you have a question, you can submit that to the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you to ask a question out loud. All right, starting off here, could you elaborate a little bit more about the temperature performance range, and if there are any concerns about different climates that could affect the flashing's performance?
Yep, absolutely. So there is should have uploaded it here, but there's a material data sheet that shows the temperature ratings for this product, for this type of plastic. And essentially it's the low end is lower than anything we will see in North America, and the high end is higher than anything we will ever see here, barring some sort of drastic climate change. We're going to have bigger issues than what type of joint flashing we're using if we come to that point. We've also put it through our own testing at sub-zero temperatures for brittleness factor, and there's been no issues at all for anything temperature related. We have been selling this product since 2013, so for over a decade now, and we have had zero warranty issues in the last decade. So since inception, we've never had a callback. We've never had a product failure in 11 years. The only time there's ever been an issue has really been a installation error where that nail that I mentioned earlier was not put on both sides, and you'll get one piece that's falling through or falling down. It kind of pivots because only one nail was put in. But we've never had any callbacks, never have any issues for any sort of product failure. The other thing I would speak on is we have put this through UV testing, so it is a 30-year UV rated product. So that matches the warranty for hardy siding. This really should not be much of an issue practically for how it's installed. There can sometimes be up to 1/8 of an inch gap there between the two pieces of hardy. And so there can be some sun exposure, but the actual amount of sun exposure to the product is so minimal that this UV rating should almost be irrelevant. We just got the question so many times that we figure, you know what, we want to be able to answer this the right way. So we put it through the testing, paid the thousands of dollars to get it through there. So now it does carry a 30-year UV warranty.
Awesome. All right, great. Next up, are there any specific considerations for retrofit applications and how JointFlash integrates with existing building envelope components?
Would this be, just so I understand the question, would this be for like doing a re-side or remodel, or trying to install on projects that already have siding installed?
It looks like, let's see. They're asking about like considerations for proper layering with existing flashings and weather barriers.
Okay. So I will say I'll answer both questions and hopefully that covers it. So if it's for a re-side and you're putting on new siding, well then of course that that would be treated the same as any new construction job, right? So it absolutely can be used. We have a lot of installers who specialize in re-sides and that's all they do, and they use our product every day. If we're talking about how to treat a project that already has siding installed, and we're trying to now apply a flashing because it was missed originally, that's a little bit harder of a challenge. We have had people do that, and I will say there's very few products on the market that work for that. The flexibility and the pliability of JointFlash is nice for being able to like fit in your nail bags and ease of installation. However, for retrofitting, a metal product could be better just because it is more rigid and you're trying to slide it up there. So it's not particularly like our strongest suit, but it absolutely can be done. I know people have done it successfully, but then you're having to really caulk it in there instead of nail it in there because those top nails already in there, right? So ideally, it's put in when the siding's installed originally, right? So for a smaller project, I think that there's a way to do it, but absolutely, if we're talking, a large apartment complex or something, to go back in there and try to retrofit this and treat those joints after the fact, it's not an ideal way to do it. The proper way to do it is to have this spec'd out originally so the installers know that this needs to go in with the installation originally.
Right. All right, awesome. Next up, are flashings provided together with the siding products? Is it proprietary? If repair is required, can one use another flashing product?
So is it provided with the siding? I guess to answer that question, so we are not affiliated with Hardy or with Allura or with LP, right? We meet their guidelines, but any of those manufacturers do not specifically recommend only one product. They kind of say, hey, this is up to the installer, and that's kind of a mistake on their part, honestly, because I think that they are opening up the opportunity for some error there. So as far as coming out with the siding, if you order a pack of Hardy lap siding, no, our product is not going to automatically come out with it unless it's set up that way at a dealer. So if you were ordering, like, say, from a local dealer here in Vancouver, most of them would automatically send out our product. They'd send out JointFlash with a Hardy pack because that's become the industry standard. Now, if you're located in New York City and you order it right now, we don't have a single dealer in New York City. A large part of that is due to just we're a small company, we're on the West Coast, and that's on the East Coast. So that really depends on, I guess, what market you're in and if it's a industry standard at this point in that market. What was the second part of that question?
If repair is required, can one use another flashing product?
So, yeah, if repair on the siding is required, yes, you'd be able to use whichever flashing you wanted as long as it met manufacturer recommendations, right? We've never, like I said earlier, we've never had to repair any issues with JointFlash itself. But if there was a siding repair, well, we would hope that you would use JointFlash at that point instead of a different product.
All right, awesome. And then looks like this may be our last one for now. So reminder, if anyone hasn't submitted a question and wants to, feel free to do that now. Are there any chemical compatibility concerns when using JointFlash with different sealants, building wraps, or treated lumber products?
No, there is not, none to our knowledge. And like I've said, we've been selling this for over a decade and we've never had any issues like that come up. So to our knowledge, there are no issues.
Awesome. All right, great. Well then, that looks like it may have wrapped up our questions. Before we jump off for the day, just want to remind everyone to grab any of those links from the chat. There's a link to book a demo with Acelab. There's a link to head to the JointFlash page on Acelab. So those are both great resources if you want to learn some more after today's webinar. Other than that, there's going to be a quick post-event survey as you're jumping out today. If you can give us any feedback, list any questions that might come up as you're leaving the webinar, that's always super helpful for us. All right. Other than that, I just want to thank everyone for coming out today, for asking some great questions. Thank you so much, Tyler, for a really great presentation. It was awesome to learn some more about your products. And yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we jump off for the day?
No, that's it. Just thanks everyone for coming. And absolutely, if you do have questions, whether it's installation or manufacturer guidelines or temperature ratings or whatever it is, absolutely don't hesitate to either reach out on the platform or directly to us. Happy to help.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope everybody has a great rest of their weekend.
Thanks, guys.